Honorable Rector, professors, speakers, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. There is no power except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has declared war on riba. And this doesn't mean that there is a fight between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the banks. Because the banks have no entity before the Lord of the worlds. All the human affairs put together, they are not even one grain before the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What it means is that the banks have been already defeated. What you have before you is a corpse. It's a dead corpse of destruction. It reigns by ignorance, not by light. When the light comes, the darkness disappears. These banks were brought to you by the same people who took colonial power over you. And you are not an independent nation, not yet. Not until you get rid of riba. When the British and the Dutch left, they left you behind a constitution. It's the package of a slavery, a central bank, paper money, and the national debt of Indonesia. These three concepts of central bank, national debt, and paper money is in every constitution in the world. This is how they rule the world. Capitalism is the religion of the world. Islam is pushed aside concerning your habits of prayer and how do you get dressed. In economic matters, Islam has been pushed aside. And now a new breed of people have come to Islamize capitalism. These are good people called Islamic economists. But what they have asked you to do is impossible. They want you to get the banks and to make an Islamic bank. A credit card, an Islamic credit card. Insurance, Islamic insurance. Stock exchange, Islamic stock exchange. Islam is not to Islamize capitalism. This is not your role. This is what they want you to do. But you should refuse. Because Islam has its own model. There is a way of Islam. We had an economy for 1400 years without a bank, without a central bank, without national debt, without this ridiculous paper money that you have before you. The day will come where you will explain to your children the days of paper money, and they will laugh at you. You will try to explain to them that the people were having money, pieces of paper with no value. And they will say, you couldn't be so fools. Your grandson will say, cannot be. People cannot be so blind as to use pieces of paper which are completely worthless. That day will come and you will see it. This is a 10 dinar coin. And this is a 10 dirham coin. They are 10 times the size of the dinar and the dirham, which is mentioned in Quran. They follow the same weight as established by Umar ibn al-Khattab, 7/10. The weight of the dinar is the mithqal, and the weight of the dirham is 7/10 of the mithqal. This is mentioned in Quran. This is the Sharia currency. It's not based, money in Islam is not based on gold and silver. It's based on freedom. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran is tijaratun an taradhim minkum. Trade with mutual consent. At least you laugh. There is no mutual consent here. This is done by imposition. You are not free. Because if you were free, if we go out in the streets and we tell the people, what do you want? You want this or you want this? Exactly. 99% of the man will choose the gold dinar, and 100% of the woman will choose the gold dinar. This is the real currency. It has no inflation. One chicken at the time of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it cost 1 dirham. Today you can buy 3 chickens. In Indonesia with 1 dirham. The value has not only maintained but increased. The reason you have this is not because of this, it's because of this. You know what this is, right? It's the magical US dollar. It's a green piece of paper, not much difference from yours. Except with this they can buy anything they want in the world. They give us pieces of paper, we give them oil, we give them aluminium, we give them gas, we give them resources, we give them genes, we give them our services. When they want more, they print more. Allah sent us this wonderful man called Obama, who has printed more US dollars than any other president, all of the presidents put together. It is estimated that about 23 trillion US dollars have been printed just pressing a button out of nothing. With these 23 trillion, they can buy the GDP of Indonesia for the next 23 years. That's why they don't need to conquer you. They can buy you. They can buy anything they want, as long as you are blind and you don't see. But Allah is the light. You know that is wrong, just looking at it. But you have to act. It's not enough to know. You have to say no. No to this theft. I will fight for Allah. Allah has declared war on riba. Muhammadiyah will be the gathering of this force. Bring the currency to the people. Use it in the faculties. Use it in your shops. The whole of Yogyakarta. Make it the model. If you want a global currency, change Yogyakarta. If you change one city, you change the world. Like Medina al-Munawwara. It was a tiny little city of 10,000 people. But when they changed, the whole world changed. If you change Yogyakarta, the whole Indonesia will follow you. Because when the light comes, the darkness will disappear. Because nobody will want this anymore. Because you will say to them, eat it. And to the Americans who say, just keep it for yourselves. If you want to trade with us, trade with gold and silver. We are not fools anymore. We have waking up from a dream. And now we have chosen to fight in the way of Allah. You don't have to be worried about the outcome of this war, because when Allah declares war on something, there is no doubt what is the outcome. Your job is to move away from a state of darkness and to fill yourself with the light of Allah, and to know that you are here to worship Him only. What we do it because we love Allah and because we fear Allah. We fear Allah means you don't fear anything in this world. Taqwa means you are free from this world. Taqwa means you understand the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that His will is the reality, that your will doesn't mean anything. Want what He wants. If you want success, but if you try something and doesn't happen, don't be frustrated. For it's Allah that matters, not you. Desire what He wants, and you will find the way of action that can liberate you and your fellow friends and family. It's all in our hands. Zakat cannot be paid with this. In Arabic, we distinguish between ayn and dain. Ayn means tangible, like rice, like gold and silver. Dain means a debt, a liability, a promissory note. You cannot pay zakat with a promissory note. You have to pay it with ayn. And that means the dinar should be used to pay dinar and dirham. If you do that in Yogyakarta, the politicians of Jakarta will not be able to touch you. Because nobody in the world, not even in Malaysia, they could say the gold dinar is haram. They don't have the guts. They don't have the strength, even though the central bank will know that when the gold dinar is the currency of the people of Indonesia, the central bank will disappear. And so what? So what? We will have no banks, but wadiyah. We don't have banks in Islam. We have wadiyah. Wadiyah is safekeeping institution. You can have accounts in dinar and dirham. And you will have a tzika, a mint, not to mint this currency, but to mint dinar and dirham. We don't need central banks. We have our own institutions. This is a rupee. It's a Mughal coin. The British brought it to the Southeast Asia, and by some strange coincidence, it became the currency of your people. It's also the currency of Pakistan, the rupee. When the Bank of Indonesia promises to pay you 10,000 rupees, they're promising to pay you 10,000 of these. But if you go to the central bank and you tell them, pay me 10,000 silver coins, they will look at you and they will say, what's wrong with you? There is nothing behind. But it's not that they don't want to pay. They never had the intention of paying. Because by the time Indonesia got independent, the central banks had already released themselves from the obligation of paying their species. You came into the central bank in the second stage of development, when it already doesn't mean anything, but is only a means of continuing their power. Only Allah can help us, Dr. Abdul Manab, because the educated Malays are too scared. Only with taqwa, the people can move. Taqwa is our salvation. It's Allah, not the gold dinar, that is going to help us. We do the gold dinar because we are not blind, but our motivation is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only then you will see the end of this madness that you call monetary system. Only then you will see the end of this system of banking that taxes the people. Inflation is not a figure. Inflation is theft. When you have no choice but this currency, and the banks continue to print more of this currency, you are being robbed. Like you are being robbed right now. The rupees that you have in your pocket, they are losing money. They are losing value right now. You are being robbed right at this moment. But you are told you can do nothing about it. You have to admit it as a matter of fact. But this theft that is taking place is not a tax of the government. People think the printing of money is the affair of the government. If you understand fractional reserve banking, if you understand the difference between money supply 1 and money supply 3, if you compare the electronic money in comparison to the money supply 1, which is what the government prints, is 1 to 20. The majority of the rupees, of the ringgits for that matter, that they are in circulation, the majority, the great majority, they are issued by private banks. Inflation is a tax by private institutions. Inflation, ironically, is a subsidy for the loans. Because when they have to pay 10% interest, when the inflation is 10%, they have to pay the same. It's zero. It's neutralized. Inflation subsidizes the loans, encourages the loans. The only way you have to protect yourself against inflation, ironically, is to borrow. Only when you borrow, inflation works in your favor. But when you have assets in paper money, you lose. That's why inflation is the worst tax ever, because it punishes the poor who have no means of protecting themselves. And it makes the money flow to the very rich, who find themselves not only with large amount of new money, but also a subsidy of other loans, which is the inflation they create. This is the madness of the system. You never heard about fractional reserve banking, but read about it. And if not, speak with Dr. Abdul Manab. He will explain to you. He was a former Islamic banker, and he will tell you why Islamic banking is haram, haram, haram. It's 3 times haram. They are worse than banks, because what they've done is what the kuffar couldn't do. They have made the riba halal. And that is madness. So you can see this conference that is going to follow is going to bring a lot of shocking news. I'm only advertising the themes that they are coming forward. You will find people very qualified in the Islamic matters that they will give you details over these affairs, that they represent the only chance that Indonesia has to free itself and to become a nation, an Islamic nation in the world, to shine free of riba. Everything is in your hands. For certainly, if Allah has declared war on riba, the success is inevitable. And victory belongs to Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.